presentation has been facilitated by Nelly Noordenbos, Sales and Partner Manager of Order2Cash in the Netherlands, one of our 2017 sponsors, and the presentation is going to be given by Frantz Jelensperger, Chef de Service Finance from KONE here in France. Frantz, the floor is yours. Good morning.
Good morning, my name is Frantz Jelensperger. I work for KONE. I don't know if everybody know KONE. KONE install and maintain the elevator, escalator and automatic doors in our building. KONE is localized in 50 countries. We have 52,000 employees. We have about 400,000 customers, and the result is, if I remember, 8.8 billion. Currently, I manage the billing department, but also in my area we have a treasury and collection sometimes process. In France, we have about 59 customers. We have about 200,000 equipment, it means elevator, escalator and automatic doors. And we have about 500 million of turnover. Today we talk about invoicing process. Why? Because the invoicing process has an impact to the collection process. If the invoice is not correct, you are impacted directly for even for the dispute, administrative dispute, commercial dispute, or technical dispute. While improving invoicing, the improvement we made, the impact to the customer, the impact to the KONE employees, because all the process impact all the actors, and the transition in invoicing, why, when, the lead time, and the conclusion. Reason to improve the collection process. The main reason is to effectively increase the customer satisfaction. I don't know if we have this case, but I have this case. Sometimes the customer receives the dunning letter, but he does not receive the invoice. Why? It depends the organization in your company. It depends also the process that we've put in place to create the invoice, control the creation of the invoice, to print the invoice and to send the invoice. And to be sure that the invoice is received by the customer. It's very important. In fact, currently we have some customers that we have put in place already some electronic invoicing solution. Why? Because he would like to be sure that he received the invoice. And also, there are other reasons that we explain after in the next slide. We have to reduce the cost administration. The main also that we have discovered and discussed with customers, we have a lot of solutions to dematerialize the invoice. Not only one, a lot of. And we have also a lot of providers with a lot of portals. That's why we need to effectively to structure and to try to have like a rule with the customer. And also to answer to all the requests. The second also opportunity for KONE is to modify the process of the invoicing and the organization. It means to be sure that effectively all the invoice is created, all the invoice is sent to the subcontractor, printer subcontractor, and all the invoice is received by the customer. The second approach of KONE is also to harmonize the invoice layout. I don't know if we have a new company, some request from the customer. Some customer ask different presentation, layout, and so on. The KONE Global approach is effectively to have one standard model and one specific model. One standard model is effectively the customer receive always, all the customer receive always the same model. The same format, the same layout. It means that in all the country tomorrow, because only Spain and France is in his KONE model, only tomorrow the customer receives the same layout invoice in all the country with all the elements. It means that effectively, after we explain, we are analyze all the layout in all the country and take, okay, we take this element, we take this element. It means that on the invoice we have all the detail. And after we build a flexible solution if the customer wants to have a sort by equipment. We need to go to have only a summarized, and we have effectively a flexible solution. The second part is also to decrease the number of disputes. When we talk a dispute, we talk administrative dispute. It means the quality, data quality, not price, not dispute from the price, or technical dispute. It means that if the fitter does not make for KONE the visit, the maintenance visit, and we bill, effectively this is a dispute because the customer does not, because the fitter does not make the visit, the maintenance visit. On which you talk the quality. And in fact, the electronic invoice can improve the quality of the data. The second part is also to improve the response time to dispute. Do you know, I think that's not now, but before 2017, we send the invoice only in paper. When we send the invoice only in the paper, we have two things. One, the customer complains. He receives the invoice and send back, oh, we have an error. The second part is when the collection agent calls the customer. Oh, sorry, but you don't pay the invoice. Yes, it's normal, because we have an error. Error on the address, error because we miss the customer purchase order, we have an error of VAT, we have a VAT number, and so on. But with electronic invoice solution, we can radically check before to send the invoice and cancel and correct the invoice quickly. And effectively, if we cancel and correct the invoice quickly, we reduce the payment period. The main difficulty currently for electronic invoicing solution is for KONE, I don't know, for the company, we have different customer and different segmentation of customer. Private customer, regional customer, national customer, strategic customer, and public customer. All the customers that I explained have different requirements to receive the invoice. I explain. Sometimes the customer wants to receive the invoice by paper, sometimes we want to receive the invoice by email, sometimes we have already a portal solution with a portal, sometimes we want to receive the invoice in EDI. I don't know if you know the EDI, it means that electronic transfer. And sometimes you don't want to receive this solution, but you want to put the invoice manually in our portal. It means that in terms of supplier, we need to have all the possibility and give all the solution to the customer. Easy solution. It means that in terms of workload for KONE, we need to find the easy solution. And I don't know for the other country, for public customer, we need to use effectively only one portal. I know that in Spain it's the same, it's FACE if I remember. And for France, it's Chorus Portal Pro. I don't know if we have some company that use already Chorus Portal Pro to deposit the invoice. But for the public customer, we need to use this portal. It means that we have several options to dematerialize the invoice. The first is a simple. We have some customer asked to receive the paper, but he wants to have a file. Why? Because in fact the file is used to upload in our system. But this is not like a structured file. This is unstructured because for the customer it's possible to modify the file. The second is effectively a file unstructured. It means that image of PDF. This image is encrypted. It means that it's not possible to modify the PDF. And for the customer, it's important because sometimes the customer receives the PDF. We have some provider that we read the PDF and catch some information on the PDF and create already the invoice in our system, in a customer system. And the second part is effectively the EDI. EDI is effectively we exchange the data by file. And this file is directly uploaded in accounting system of the customer. Why? Effectively, we need to harmonize the layout. If we have a different solution, if we want to centralize the creation of the invoice and the printing, it means that we need to review the layout. It means also to explain to the customer, if we put in place the electronic solution, we need to simplify the layout. It means that also we have already some specifications on the customer, and we need to give the opportunity to answer to the specification of the customer. I don't know how many layouts you have following your activity or your services. In France, we have effectively, even in the other country, we have 3 or 5. Normally, we have 5 layouts depending on the activity. Maintenance contract is 1, small repair and repair. We are defining with the customer all the information that we need to put in the standard layout. In order effectively to explain to the customer, if you have a standard layout, you can access to the dematerialization of the billing. In fact, in terms of the project, we start the project in 2014 in order to analyze all the layouts with the KONE Group. In 2016, we implement the new layout model in Spain. This is not a small company, but it's very interesting. And we continue to implement and to improve the layout and the process in France. In order after to implement this process in all the country. Currently, we have data input. One is the data input, manual data input. Or for KONE, we have some integration with CRM when for the effectively name and tiering. Automatically, the invoice is created. Automatically, the sales order is created. It means you create a sales document in SAP. It's reviewed by the billing administrator. When the billing administrator reviewed the document, we attach, depending on the request of the customer, we attach a document. It means we attach the copy of the sales order, the service order, the notification, because some customer ask the notification when we have an intervention. It means that every time the invoice is created and is sent automatically to the Order2Cash, and Order2Cash retrieve the invoice and the attachment, link the attachment to the invoice, and send directly to the customer. And when we say that's sent, we have three possibilities, simple possibilities. By post, by email, or by portal. It means that we give access to the customer to the Order2Cash to choose the delivery method to receive the invoice. In terms of document received by the customer, if we have effectively received the invoice by post, we receive the invoice and the attachment. If we receive by mail, it means that we receive a notification, and in the notification we have the PDF of invoice attached with the attachment in the notification. If we give access to the portal, it means that the customer need to go to the portal and pick up the invoice in the portal. We receive only notification that, okay, the invoice is received. And the customer need to go to the portal, pick up, the invoice and the attachment. This is a simple solution, but normally we cover main of the requirement of the customer. The second solution is EDI. It means, following effectively the discussion with the customer, we have two different customers. We have a private customer, it means that we have with a lot of volume with the customer, and we have the public customer. You know, in France, and perhaps in other countries, some portal is mandatory to use to deposit the invoice for the public customer. But for me, missing a solution to answer to the private customer, or strategic customer, or regional, or national customer. Because national customer does not want to use this solution. He prefers effectively, due to the volume, to use this solution. In order, after you explain, we have a slide to explain why. It means currently we have all the solutions available and all the solutions that I can explain and display to the customer. Second part is very interesting, is that effectively we can archive the invoice and the attachment in SAP, in each invoice. I explain after that, in fact, we have already an archiving also for the customer and for KONE in the Order2Cash, but also we have an archiving in SAP. Just to explain, if you use FSCM, it's better to drill down on the invoice and pick up the invoice in the PDF in SAP for the cash collection. The main functionality, I explained, effectively, invoice archive is possible, in fact, in the portal to have criteria sorted by status. It's possible, effectively, to see when the invoice is sent by email. We know also when the invoice is sent to the third party. Chorus, Egedim, or sometimes, I don't know if we have this example from the company, some customer asked to send the invoice in the third address. And this address is stored also. We have also the possibility to group the invoice in the same envelope. We don't send one envelope by invoice to the customer. We send effectively Order2Cash, retrieve all the invoice, we check the address, we group the address and put it in the same envelope. I don't know if we have this functionality. You see the invoice rejected, you see also the invoice returned by postal code, and we have a specific process to treat this invoice. It means that we cancel the invoice, we block the invoice, and we have to the commercial people, or technical people, to check the address. If the address is correct or not correct, we modify and we do a new invoice. Track all the invoice status, information, it means the creation date, the date of receipt by the customer, and also we check the date picked up by the customer. It means that effectively when the customer downloads the invoice, you see the date. Just to comment also for the, because this is important. When you group an invoice, sometimes we have some customers saying that, oh, I don't receive this invoice. And currently, KONE is able to say, well, it's not possible. His invoice is grouped in this envelope with all the invoice. So if we have received this invoice, we have received also this. And just to comment, because you are also tracking in the portal all the logging, all the change. It means that effectively the customer can change the delivery method, can change the email, and we can effectively check. And normally we have a process that we update automatically in SAP. If you try to effectively summarize, we have a simple opportunity from the private customer, it means the small customer. I think that most of the customers want to receive the invoice by email. I think for me it's normal. If we have a customer that we have a lot of suppliers, I don't ask the customer to go to all the portal of the supplier to pick up the invoice. He prefers to receive the invoice by paper, by mail. So. Notification by email, a new invoice in the portal is possible, and you have this functionality when we use Power Company. We receive a notification saying, oh, the invoice is available, a new account. In private, you have this functionality. And also, you can consulting and downloading invoice on the portal. This is for the private customer. And EDI, for me, it only used if we have a lot of volume with the customer. I think that EDI is a workload to put in place. It means we need to have a return of investment if we put in place the EDI. And only the manner to effectively evaluate is the number of invoice sent to the customer. If we have only one invoice by years, it would be better to send the invoice by email. The main also opportunity is explain to the customer that effectively we have a portal. All the customer does not have a portal currently. And for me, it's an opportunity to explain that we have the possibility to show the delivery method, to also to see all the elements in the portal. effectively, when the customer chooses a delivery method, he can choose only one, not two. Because the original need to send only with one manner. CSV. Do you remember I explained that KONE has developed two things, a standard model and a specific model. And this is a specific model. In fact, when you create each invoice, even for invoice, cancellation and credit note, we create also a CSV file with all the elements in the invoice in the CSV. It means that if the customer wants this presentation or this, you can effectively download the CSV and create the invoice with all the information. And this file, it can be sent directly to the customer. Which benefits? What benefit for the customer? Saving processing mail. When you receive the invoice by paper, we need to open the envelope, sort, distribution, and so on. When you receive effectively the invoice electronically, it means that effectively, even by mail, we have some software, we pick up automatically and create the invoice. Even if we have effectively the portal is the same, and even if we have the EDI, is directly in the accounting software. Less paper, inviting the office each day. Time management, connection to invoice, dedicate time slot. It means that effectively we have a scheduling to send the invoice. Invoice in dedicated mailbox or directly in the system, to explain. No deal, effectively, for scan, don't forget that when we receive the paper, we have some, tomorrow, currently, we take the paper and we scan and we archive. When we receive the invoice by email or retrieve in the portal, the PDF is created automatically. It means that we can storage in our system, we use Order2Cash. Global vision on portal of current maintenance event, contracts, small repair and so on. The customer see all the type of the invoice. Traceability. It means that effectively when the invoice arrives, when is accepted, rejection and payment. Impact to KONE. And the first impact is for the salesman. It means that effectively each salesman needs to be aware and trained for all the solutions developed by KONE and Order2Cash. We need effectively to ask the customer to use the KONE portal in first, if we don't have the solution. If the customer don't have the solution. The second is to use effectively the GIS portal. GIS portal is CGD. Why? Because effectively CGD is localized in France and we have a lot of customers in France. And the second effectively is to setting up the EDI when we have a big volume. It means that we need to have an agreement between the customer and KONE to put in place the EDI because we need to align all the database. And we have effectively what I explained, some case where the customer doesn't want to manage a portal, doesn't want to use EDI, and he asks to KONE to send the invoice, to put the invoice, to deposit the invoice manually in our system. And the second part is effectively to have a CSV file that we send manually, and the customer creates our layout his layout or integrate in our system manually. For the public customer, I already explained that effectively we have only Chorus Portal Pro. We have also explained that we have changed the organization and the process. Before 2017, in fact, the branch in KONE create the invoice, send the invoice, and when we say sending, print the invoice in printer, locally printer, put the invoice in the envelope and send directly to the customer. Tomorrow and now is not possible. All the invoice is created by Order2Cash and signed by Order2Cash. And when we talk about an invoice, we talk about also credit note and cancellation. Nobody is able to block the invoice to the customer. When we create the invoice is sent. When we create a credit note, the credit note is sent. When we cancel the invoice, which means that we have made a mistake, the cancellation is sent. To be sure that all the document created in SAP is sent to the customer. All the document posted in SAP is sent to the customer. It's important for electronic invoice because after we have a deviation, which means that the customer does not receive the invoice, but we have an invoice posted in the customer account. And for me, it's important that we have a traceability, that all the posted in the customer account, all the invoice, credit note, and cancellation posted in the customer account is sent, and all the invoice, credit note, and cancellation is in the portal, KONE portal, or the cash portal. The second part is effectively to be sure that we have defined some rule with Order2Cash to be sure that all the customer master data is correct. Normally it's not possible. You should not send the invoice if the postal code not equal the town. It means that the invoice is rejected before to send the customer. It means that we have the address, the language, quantity, the equipment. We have also a rule to group the invoice and the attachment. You cannot send the invoice if we don't have the attachment. Before the implementation of the project, the customer receives the invoice, but not the attachment. We need also to respect the French archiving legislation, and also for each invoice, try to explain, you have effectively, you create a CSV file. We have also a report and control. What is important also is that all the customers use different portals and different solutions. But for KONE, we need to have only one manner to check if the invoice is accepted, is created, is rejected. Not to search in different portals, where is my invoice, is accepted? No, we need to have a report, effectively to check, okay, my invoice is created, is sent, is accepted, to reject it. And the reason of the rejection. It means that we have developed with Order2Cash a report. This report is loading in SAP, and we have a transaction that for each invoice you can see if effectively is created, when is created, if we have effectively, if it's sent, and the IDOC document, if rejected, if we treated, or eventually the reason, not eventually, the reason of rejection. It means that every time, every day, we run this transaction, we detected if we have some invoice rejected, and we cancel and ask the correction, who put the correction, if it is the correction. We don't wait to complain to the customer to correct the invoice. That's why I explain. The second part is that all the users, it means that all the actors in KONE France has access to the KONE portal or the Order2Cash portal, and all the actors have the same view than the customer. It means that if the customer has some question from the portal, all the actors, it could be, answer it. An example of the report that uploaded in SAP, you see the company code, you see the activity, you see the type of the invoice, you see the invoice number, you see the output type, you see the time that created, who is created, the IDOC document, this is an electronic document created in SAP, the channel, the time of receive, the time modified. If effectively we have a code, it means that 41 is processed, 40 is rejected. And you see effectively which supplier have received the invoice. Sorry, but normally in this case you see the reason of rejection. In this time, the customer sales order is filling not correctly. It means that normally, this is SNCF if you want, SNCF asks effectively in the customer purchase order to put the customer purchase order without space, star, without special character. And in this case, we have a special character. It means that the invoice is rejected automatically. It means that also for the end user, we cancel the invoice, we correct directly the customer purchase order, and we resend a new invoice. And just comment, we communicate to the SNCF this report in order to check with him if we have received the same invoice. And discover that, some invoice I not received. I explained that it's normal. You don't see the invoice because the invoice is rejected, meaning that it's not arrived to you because we have a mistake. Meaning that internally we correct the invoice and we send a new invoice. And it's very interesting. In fact, customer is very interested by my explanation. A view of the portal. You see effectively the invoice number, the account, my account, report, the historical, and some info. In this portal, effectively, you can search by different criteria: invoice, dates, invoice date by, type of invoice, by status, by channel. It means that effectively if you want to see all the invoice sent by email, by portal, or directly to CGD. And also you can search by B2 party. I don't know if you know B2. It means that this is a partner that receives the invoice, who's the payer. It means that normally this is the owner of the sales order or the contract. You see the detail of invoice number, the type of invoice is for KONE people. The dates we have created the invoice date, the B2 number, the name of the B2 number, the name of the payer, the payer number, the name of the payer, the entity, because Order2Cash manage several entities for KONE, the amount. And now we have some icon. This icon, after we see, you see the delivery method, and you see if it's sent by mail, by paper, by portal. You see effectively if the invoice is treated correctly. We have the CSV file that we explained with all the elements in the PDF. We have the metadata. It means that we have all the data except original XML file, the PDF, the attachments, and the CSV. We have the PDF of the invoice, and you have also another data only to have the PDF and only the PDF and the CSV. You see also an example. This is when you click in this button, you see the information. This is an invoice sent by EDI. In this invoice, you see the invoice number. You see which provider has received the invoice, CGD. You see the delivery status. It's new. We also see the last uploaded. It means that the date when the invoice is uploaded. And the batch ID, this is a loading report treated by Order2Cash, means that we have the date, warehouse, and this loading report and this information is uploaded in SAP. And you see effectively, CGD may receive the invoice, the new invoice, but is not treated. We have effectively some invoice is waiting for treatment, and when it's green, it means that the delivery complete. And you have also the delivery failed. It means that all the status can be changed and can be uploaded to be sure that we have a late status in SAP. We have an example, the notification received by email by the customer, and we have the attachment of the invoice, please. Donc, effectively, the customer receives like sentence model, and we have effectively the invoice with the PDF, with the attachment attached to the mail. And if you go to the portal, you see effectively which email address is completely delivered when, and we have a report status. And this information, again, is uploaded in SAP. The improvement. All the collection agents have access to the KONE portal. It means they can answer quickly to the customer. He can upload all the information and send by email. He can also, I don't make a copy, screenshot with a copy of screen, but it can create also a zip. If you have 200 invoices to send to the customer, you can effectively, from the portal, upload all the invoices and send the zip directly to the customer. You can also follow in each portal the payment, the rejection, the waiting, and the approval. Just a comment effectively to the Chorus portal. Normally, all the status of the invoice in the Chorus can be uploaded in SAP. It means that Order2Cash retrieve all the status of the invoice and upload the information in SAP. It means that normally for the KONE people, nobody need to go to the Chorus portal to see where is my invoice. Tomorrow they can directly go to SAP and see, okay, my invoice is accepted or not accepted. Less invoice in dispute. It means that effectively, if the invoice is rejected in first, when we send directly in EDI, it means that effectively the invoice does not go directly to the customer. It means that we can correct quickly and redo a new invoice. And effectively, we normally reduce the payment method. And tomorrow, you can effectively give access to the portal and give all the solution, different solutions for the customer. It means that normally the customer is satisfied. For me, the next step for 2018 is to have a promotion effectively to reduce the paper to go to the invoicing. We work currently with the commercial department to have like documentation to explain to the salesman and to give to the customer. Please go directly to the invoicing email or the portal. The second part for KONE is effectively to roll out the other countries, US, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland, etc. Perhaps in the future we have the possibility directly in Order2Cash to give the access to the customer to put directly the complaint in the Order2Cash. The second part also is to have the possibility to follow the online payment, direct debit and credit card. And all this status is integrated in SAP directly. For me, is missing also one part is directly, we have a new technology tomorrow, is directly to implement the customer purchase order directly in our system. It means that the sales order is created directly by the customer. It means tomorrow we reduce also the dispute from the commercial reason. And if we have all the pictures, if we integrate automatically the sales order, we create automatically, we integrate automatically the invoice to the customer, and we integrate the payment direct in our system, we have all the dematerialization of the process. Thank you. I don't know if you have some question.
Frantz, thank you very much for that very full presentation. Greatly appreciated. Would anybody have any? Yes, please do. Thank you. We certainly wish you every success with your global rollout. That sounds like it's going to be another tremendous challenge, certainly. But before we proceed, does anybody have any questions of Frantz in terms of what he's implemented thus far?
Sorry, me.
Oh, we love you.
That was lovely. Thank you very much. Really interesting. We've got a very complicated billing arrangement as well. So I've got about 10 questions, but I'll just do one and catch you later. So you have the process where you have the SAP sends the data to the billing. Would you consider Order2Cash to be your billing engine or a recipient of the invoice which is already kind of really created in SAP?
What do you mean? So
is the invoice, the invoice data comes from SAP into Order2Cash, and then it follows the flow and then it goes back into SAP. Which is the invoice date? Is it when it leaves SAP to go to the Order2Cash, or is it when it comes back in as a fully fulfilled invoice?
In fact, when we create in SAP the invoice, we create a file. This is an XML format. And in fact, this is Order2Cash that creates the PDF of the invoice, not SAP.
But the accounting entries are created in SAP?
And after, Only we have like, I don't know, IDOC document. This is an
Yeah.
electronic document. And when Order2Cash create the PDF for the invoice, we resend the PDF by Image Master. I don't know if you know Image Master. And we store this information linked to the invoice number in SAP.
Okay. So does the invoice number get generated in SAP or in Order2Cash?
No, generated by SAP.
Excellent, thank you.
Invoice number, sorry.
Thank you.
Pedro, I think you can ask your 9 questions of Frantz during the coffee break, but let me move to Miguel quickly here.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for the presentation, Frank. My question is on Order2Cash. What is the, can you say a couple of words on the roles played by yourself and the Order2Cash, organization? Just the, who's got what role in this venture, and how significant is the collaborative work here? I just didn't quite get it. Thank you.
The main role is that effectively KONE want to have one solution to create the invoice for all the country. And also it means that effectively it's not SAP that create the invoice, create only the invoice number and the IDOC. And the strategy of KONE is say that Order2Cash to create the PDF of the invoice following a file mapping. It says that, okay, we receive all the information by XML and we catch this information and put in this field. And Order2Cash also manage the KONE portal. This is not KONE does not have a portal. This is Order2Cash is very provider that is expert to manage the electronic invoice. This is not my job to manage the electronic invoice. My job is to effectively satisfy the customer, create the invoice with the right, good information. For me, it's not to manage the electronic invoice. That's why Order2Cash is an expert. And for me, I don't need to manage the delivery method. It's not KONE France that manage the delivery method.
Thank you. Any further questions of Frantz, please? Patrick.
Just a quick one on the integration of the data from KONE to SAP. You said that you will work on a global integration into SAP on the payment advices and the payment approvals or rejections. So I get it at this moment that would still be a manual process for a customer to upload the data from KONE into SAP, or?
Currently, we know that the payment is not uploaded in SAP. This is a manual process. Only where one process is automated, we have an automation, is to send the invoice directly into the system of the customer. Only.
Okay, so the payment status is not yet?
No.
Okay.
In fact, in the future, what I imagine, I don't know, this is not a dream, is effectively the customer creates the sales order in our system, is integrated directly in KONE SAP. KONE SAP send from Order2Cash the invoice directly in the system of the customer, and tomorrow, also not the dream, the customer resend directly the payment and the information of the payment. What is very important now is with the technology, we are able to check or track when the invoice is created, rejected, when we have an approval for the public customer, for the portal for the public customer, and if effectively is paid. Tomorrow this is a...
Right.
For the US version of the KONE portal, we are working on an integration with WorldPay. In the US there's a lot of credit card payments, also in business to business, and the status of that payment will be also included within the portals and also will be integrated within SAP. But the payment behavior in the US is different than in Europe, so there are other possibilities to include that within the reporting.
Thank you, Nelly. Any further questions of Frantz, ladies and gentlemen?
I would like to add something from the portal. Normally in the future, the customer can effectively use the portal to send a complaint and perhaps to modify some elements, master data. Why not?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, thanks to Order2Cash for their contribution. And Frantz, thank you for a very complete presentation. I'm delighted to say that it is available, it will be available from tomorrow onwards with that information on. And we certainly wish Frantz and KONE every success in the future going forward with this project. Thank you very much, Frantz.